We've spoken a lot about how to recover from burnout and what it looks like when you're in burnout, but ideally you don't actually ever get into full-on burnout. Ideally you prevent it, and that can start by noticing the signs before you've gone all the way down, because if you can address it early, it's going to be easier to recover. So it might be that you notice some of the warning signs where you're starting to feel really tired and your executive functioning is going downhill. It's harder to talk. You're forgetting your standard routines. You're starting to lose interest in tasks and activities that you used to enjoy, and you're zoning out or withdrawing. And you've got some degree of brain fog and irritability, but not so bad that it's a complete crash. So once you've identified those signs, then you can treat them. And what can help with identification is tracking your energy. So you can do it on paper, or you can use an app, checking in each day, tracking your sleep as well, because there's normally a pretty linear relationship between sleep and energy, that if you don't get much sleep, then you're gonna not feel good. If that continues for a few days, then you might verge onto burnout. And the same thing about tracking some of the factors that contribute to burnout, tracking how much social interaction you've had, and also being able to have other people who will notice if you're starting to go downhill. There might be friends who you can check in with, who can spot your patterns and give you a gentle nudge that it might be time to take a break. And I love journaling. I find that that's an excellent way for me to identify what I'm actually feeling. It's not quite a cure, but an intervention for alexithymia, that I don't necessarily key into my emotions on my own, but if I have some space by writing it out and some space in nature or going for a walk, things like that, it gives me an opportunity to actually understand where I'm at. The next idea is that you don't even want to get to the point where you're near burnout. Ideally, you want to set up your schedule in a way that you've got recovery time baked in as the priority for your week. Because if you know that recovery from burnout is going to actually severely impact your ability to take care of yourself and to work, then you don't want to get to the point where you are burnt out. You want to be able to operate in a sustainable long-term manner where you're regularly doing things that make you feel good, you're spending time with people that you enjoy spending time with, you're following your special interests and hobbies, and you're meditating, you're sleeping, you're exercising, all of the good stuff that contributes to mental and physical health. Then you're going to have more resilience and you're going to cope better with the inevitable peaks and troughs in life and the things that are challenging that you can't control. If you operate as if you're always redlining and you've got no spare capacity, then it just takes one extra thing to knock you off the edge. Whereas if you've got broad buffers and you're leaving space to be able to recover regularly, then it's going to be easier to cope with the slings and arrows of fortune. So that might mean actually saying no to things that people ask you to do and backing out of obligations that you're in right now so that you do have more buffer time. I've had to do that, especially with the arrival of my son. There's been quite a few activities that I've had to stop doing. Things that I was previously volunteering to do, community service opportunities, I'm having to step back for a little while, because if I try to do that and look after my son, I just have zero time and zero capacity. You can also think about what you're signing up for, that if you know that you're about to go into a environment that is high stimulation, like going to a party or a conference, making sure that you are scheduling in downtime afterwards, rather than hoping that you'll be able to get through and stacking it back to back. A phrase I love is that good enough is good. Still has good in there. And I can become a bit perfectionistic, and it's important for me to lean into the idea that it doesn't always have to be done perfectly or even well. It can be that at sometimes ticking the box, doing the bare minimum is okay, and knowing that There'll be other days where you can operate at peak efficiency. It might mean that you don't necessarily submit work that you do on the bare minimum days, but you know that, okay, I'm not going to finish it today. I'm not going to even do a good job today, but I'm going to have a good start that when I am refreshed tomorrow after a good night's sleep, I'll be able to polish it and make it look really good. But if I try and polish it today when I'm already sleep deprived, I'm just going to cause myself to dip into burnout. This has been a theme overall of the course, that even though recovery from burnout is about withdrawing from certain people, it's not about withdrawing from community. You want to find people who lift you up and make you feel better, and people who can potentially even step in if you're starting to burn out. If you're living with someone, a partner or a housemate, they might actually be able to support you at the times where you're burning out, and you can provide mutual support at other times when they need support. Because executive functioning is diminished in general in neurodivergent people, and especially in neurodivergent people who are experiencing burnout or are on the verge of it, it's worth considering outsourcing some of your executive functioning. There's a great quote from David Allen, the author of the book Getting Things Done, where he says the brain is for coming up with ideas, not for remembering them. And I think that can be a trap. That part of the reason why we miss appointments and we forget to finish things is because we're trying to put it in our brain rather than putting it into systems. So make sure you use a to-do list, either on paper or an app, and potentially use something to limit time on screens in the evening so that you outsource your self-discipline. Try using visual timers and ways of scaffolding habits by putting them visibly, either around you or on your phone in a way that you're not going to miss. You can also outsource by working with a friend. You can have an accountability buddy that you have a morning check-in with, where you can both share what you're planning to do that day, parts of the day that might be challenging, parts of the day where you'll factor in rest. And sometimes being able to verbally articulate it allows you to have a better sense of what you need to do than if you just thought about it on your own.